How's it going? Welcome back to another show. This is You May Roscoe, and I am Roscoe. And today's show, we're going to be doing a reaction to a musical comedy bit. This is Storm by Tim Minchin. We'll be checking this out. Before we do that, I do want to ask for anybody who hasn't that they please subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell. I also want to state that you make sure that you go over to Tim's homepage as well as any of the artists that I react to, and make sure that you go and hit the sub button and the notification bell there as well. I want to give a shout out to the homie Jim XS. So Jim, thank you very much for rocking out with me, for being a true supporter. For being you. Just want to say thank you and all that good stuff. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Let's do it.
I think I can speak for contemporary males. I don't know if you guys agree. You get to that point in your life, like I think mostly in the early 30s for men anyway, where you start to realize that everything you want to say, everything you want to express in your life can't necessarily be expressed in comedy song. And I think it's at this point in your average man's life when he might choose to write a 9-minute beat poem.
So this may not be a musical comedy bit. Normally that's what happens. This is my first time watching this, just like with any time that you see me or you get the video, that is always like my always my first time watching these things. So let's continue. I'm guessing we're gonna get a poem instead. So let's do this.
This is a 9-minute beat poem. It's called Storm.
Oh, wow. We're going back to those days. That's why he said beat poem. At first I was confused for a second, but now I get it. Just like the beatnik clubs of the 60s and stuff like that. They did a lot of that. In our community, this would just be like slam poetry, but okay, let's do it.
In a North London top floor flat, all white walls, white carpet, white cat, rice paper partitions, modern art and ambition. The host's a physician, bright bloke, has his own practice. His girlfriend's an actress, an old mate of ours from home, and they're always great fun, so to dinner we've come. The fifth guest is an unknown. The hosts have just thrown us together for a favour, because this girl's just arrived from Australia and she's moved to North London and she's a sister of someone or has some connection. As we make introductions, I'm struck by her beauty. She's irrefutably fair, with dark eyes and dark hair. But as she sits, I admit I'm a little bit wary, because I notice the tip of the wing of a fairy tattooed on that popular area just above the derriere. And when she says, "I'm Sagittarian," I confess a pigeonhole starts to form and is immediately filled with pigeon when she says her name is Storm. Conversation is initially bright and light-hearted, but it's not long before Storm gets started. You can't know anything. Knowledge is merely opinion, she opines over her Cabernet Sauvignon vis-a-vis some unhippily empirical comment made by me. Not a good start, I think. We're only on pre-dinner drinks, and across the room my wife widens her eyes, silently begs me, "Be nice." A matrimonial warning not worth ignoring, so I resist the urge to ask Storm whether knowledge is so loose weave of a morning when deciding whether to leave her apartment by the front door or the window on her second floor. The food is delicious, and Storm, whilst avoiding all meat, happily sits and eats as the good doctor, slightly pissedly, holds court on some anachronistic aspect of medical history when Storm suddenly insists, but the human body is a mystery. Science just falls in a hole when it tries to explain the nature of the soul. My hostess throws me a glance. She, like my wife, knows there's a chance I'll be off on one of my rare but fun rants, but I shan't. My lips are sealed. I just want to enjoy the meal, and although Storm is starting to get my goat, I have no intention of rocking the boat. Although it's becoming a bit of a wrestle, because like her meteorological namesake, Storm has no such concerns for our vessel. Pharmaceutical companies are the enemy. They promote drug dependency at the cost of the natural remedies that all our bodies need. They are immoral and driven by greed. Why take drugs when herbs can solve it? Why use chemicals when homeopathic solvents can resolve it? I think it's time we all return to live with natural medical alternatives. And
Stop this for a second, just for for the sake of I have to break this thing up. But okay, yeah. I'm trying to get what's going on here. You know what I mean? There's some sort of philosophical debate happening or something. I don't know, but I'm trying to absorb this. So let's continue.
try as I like, a small crack appears in my diplomacy dike. By definition, I begin, alternative medicine, I continue, has either not been proved to work or been proved not to work. Do you know what they call alternative medicine that's been proved to work? Medicine. So you don't believe in any natural remedies? On the contrary, Storm, actually, before we came to tea, I took a remedy derived from the bark of a willow tree. A painkiller that's virtually side effect free. It's got a weird name. Darling, what was it again? Masprin? Basprin? Oh yeah, aspirin, which I paid about $1 for down at the local drugstore. The debate briefly abates as my hosts collect plates. But when they return with desserts, Storm pertly asserts, Shakespeare said it first. There are more things in heaven and earth than exist in your philosophy. Science is just how we're trained to look at reality. It doesn't explain love or spirituality. How does science explain psychics, auras, the afterlife, the power of prayer? I'm becoming aware that I'm staring. I'm like a rabbit suddenly trapped in the blinding headlights of vacuous crap. Maybe it's the Hamlet she just misquaffed, or the 6th glass of wine I just quaffed, but my diplomacy dike groans and the asshole held back by its stones can be held back no more. Look, Storm, sorry, I don't mean to bore you, but there's no such thing as an aura. Reading auras is like reading minds, or tea leaves, or star signs, or meridian lines. These people aren't plying a skill. They're either lying or mentally ill. Same goes for people who claim to hear God's demands and spiritual healers who think they've got magic hands. By the way, why do we think it's okay for people to pretend they can talk to the dead? Isn't that totally fucked in the head, lying to some crying woman whose child has died and telling you you're in touch with the other side? I think that is fundamentally sick. Do we need to clarify here that there's no such thing as a psychic? What are we, fucking two? Do we actually think that Horton heard a who? Do we still believe that Santa brings us gifts, that Michael Jackson didn't have facelifts? Are we still so stunned by circus tricks that we think the dead would want to talk to pricks like John Edward?
All right, I think I'm kind of getting what's going on now as far as the debate goes. It looked like there's a debate happening between him who believes in only the explained and uh, things that are of the physical, things that you can actually touch, smell, see, those type of things, as opposed to somebody who believes in things beyond our realm of understanding. Sometimes, you know, at least for some people. So yeah, it just seems like a debate between uh, the physical and the metaphysical. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I mean it's funny because you have people who believe what they believe on either side, and who's to say whether either is right or wrong? Because you can only you only know what you experience and what you feel and all that stuff, you know. So it's hard to debate against somebody who's saying, no, I believe in something different because this is what I've experienced, you know. So even if it sounds weird to you, if somebody's saying, like, I believe in talking to people in the astral plane and all that stuff, when you only believe in, you know, the things that you can touch, smell, see, you know, I mean, I get it. I get it a little bit now. So let's continue. Wait, let me push it back a tick or two just so we don't miss anything. But let's do it.
That Santa brings us gifts, that Michael Jackson didn't have facelifts? Are we still so stunned by circus tricks that we think the dead would want to talk to pricks like John Edward? Storm, to her credit, despite my derision, keeps firing off cliches with startling precision, like a sniper using bollocks for ammunition. You're so sure of your position, but you're just closed-minded. I think you'll find that your faith in science and tests is just as blind as the faith of any fundamentalist. Wow, that's a good point. Let me think for a bit. Oh wait, my mistake, that's absolute bullshit. Science adjusts its views based on what's observed. Faith is the denial of observation so that belief can be preserved. If you show me that, say, homeopathy works, then I will change my mind. I will spin on a fucking dime. I'll be as embarrassed as hell, but I will run through the streets yelling, it's a miracle! Take physics and bin it. Water has memory, and whilst its memory of a long-lost drop of onion juice seems infinite, it somehow forgets all the poo it's had in it. You show me that it works and how it works, and when I've recovered from the shock, I will take a compass and carve fancy that on the side of my cock. Everyone's just staring now, but I'm pretty pissed and I've dug this far down, so I figure, in for a penny, in for a pound. Life is full of mysteries, yeah, but there are answers out there and they won't be found by people sitting around looking serious and saying, isn't life mysterious? Let's sit here and hope. Let's call up the fucking Pope. Let's go watch Oprah interview Deepak Chopra. If you want to watch telly, you should watch Scooby-Doo. That show was so cool because every time there was a church with a ghoul or a ghost in a school, they looked beneath the mask and what was inside? Oh, a fucking janitor or the dude who ran the water slide. Because throughout history, every mystery ever solved has turned out to be not magic. Does the idea that there might be knowledge frighten you? Does the idea that one afternoon on Wikipedia might enlighten you frighten you? Does the notion that there might not be a supernatural so blow your hippie noodle that you'd rather just stand in the fog of your inability to Google? Isn't this enough?
Alright, push that back for a little bit. Alright, sirens already, so visible shot. Oh man, there we go. Another invisible shot because it's slowly passing by. Okay, all right, cool. Let's finish this thing out.
Not be a supernatural, so blow your hippie noodle that you'd rather just stand in the fog of your inability to Google? Isn't this enough? Just this world? Just this beautiful, complex, wonderfully unfathomable natural world? How does it so fail to hold our attention that we have to diminish it with the invention of cheap, man-made myths and monsters? If you're so into your Shakespeare, lend me your ear. To gild refined gold, to paint the lily, to throw perfume on the violet is just fucking silly. Or something like that. Or what about Satchmo? I'll see trees of green, red roses too. And fine, if you wish to glorify Krishna and Vishnu in a post-colonial, condescending, bottled up and labelled kind of way, then whatever, that's okay. But here's what gives me a hard on. I am a tiny, insignificant, ignorant bit of carbon. I have one life, and it is short and unimportant. But thanks to recent scientific advances, I get to live twice as long. as my great 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 uncles and aunts. Twice as long to live this life of mine, twice as long to love this wife of mine, twice as many years of friends and wine, of sharing curries and getting shitty at good-looking hippies with fairies on their spines and butterflies on their titties.
Oh my God! All right.
Sharing curries and getting shitty at good-looking hippies with fairies on their spines and butterflies on their titties. And if perchance I have offended, think but this and all is mended. We'd as well be 10 minutes back in time for all the chance you'll change your mind.
All right. All right. All right. That was Tim Minchin with Storm, and I see with this was not necessarily comedy, even though it definitely had some elements of that in there. But this was like a statement being made, or he's explaining, like I said, his belief in things that are tangible, you know, versus somebody who has a belief in things beyond that, and like I said, it's cool if you're on either side of this argument to me, because I do, of course, I believe in the tangible and, science and all that stuff, but I also think that there is this other side of things, that may exist, or may not exist, just given who you are and what you've experienced, like I've experienced some things that people would probably say that I'm crazy for thinking, thinking the way that I think, but I mean, I've experienced it, so and it's felt real to me, just like this lady with the tramp stamp and the butterflies on the titties. you know, how she believes in all these things that aren't tangible things to somebody like him. You know, and this argument that he makes, or debate, or his side in it, it really like sheds a light, even more of a light on who he is and his beliefs as a person, especially given that I've seen, the thank you God uh, in that whole bit, because he was being sarcastic and, telling his story about Sam, I think the guy in the story's name was, who had the belief in God, and that God saved his mom's eyesight and all that stuff. When in Tim's mind, it may have been as simple as a misdiagnosis, and everything in his world has an explanation for it, a tangible explanation. When somebody that's on the flip side, they wouldn't have that per se, So um, I get it, but to each his own. He's more than welcome and allowed to feel how he feels, just like anybody who's on the other side of that debate, I suppose. So um, I guess it is what it is. But this was interesting. This was interesting. At first I was kind of like, yeah, because I was expecting comedy, really. When yeah, this is just him explaining, two people that are on different sides of a debate. So it was good stuff, and creative. He's very creative in how he presents his material, and that's one thing like I can appreciate big time. Being and having an artist spirit and being around artists a lot, I can definitely appreciate, creativity and how people would put things like this together. So, um, thumbs, but just for that aspect alone, and I'm glad that I got to check this out. I'm glad that I got to check this out. Him and his beat poetry. Great job, Tim. I'm gonna get going. Before I do that, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the share button, hit the playlist option. You'll pick the one name. It's gonna be in comedy reactions. Even though this was kind of pseudo comedy, I suppose, but still, it'll be in there. So check that playlist for any of the things that I've reacted to with Tim featuring or any other comic stuff that I've reacted to is going to be in that same playlist. But I do have playlists for other things, mainly music related. But I have some things that aren't. So um, whenever you get a chance, search through that stuff, check out all that stuff. Um, watch them to the end because it helps pushes these things out into the algorithm that much more. The Cash App, $ you made Roscoe, PayPal at you made Roscoe for those who like to show their support or appreciation for the work being done on the page. There's that. Any donations, that stuff that's definitely welcome. But that's about it. That's about it. So I'm gonna get going. I will see you guys, or you'll see me very soon. So until next we meet, my compadres and my comadres, be safe and be good.